Yeah, so this is like, we're really super fortunate. So like most bikes like this are just, they're gone.
For some, the pandemic has allowed more time for people to pick up some new hobbies. For others, it's left a lot to be desired, quite literally with the shortage of things like disinfectant wipes and, of course, toilet paper. But for a surprisingly large group of people, it's been both, with one shortage that was maybe not so predictable: bikes. Bike sales have skyrocketed since March, and while it's great for business, Mike Weiss, owner of Big Shark Bicycle Company, explains it's also presented some interesting challenges.
So we're really cyclical, right? So it's a seasonal, especially at this latitude in Missouri. And so we were sort of looking to, what I call a standard year, where we normally have a spring pickup, and most of our businesses weighted towards the nicer months. When COVID first hit, I think like a lot of businesses, we had no idea what it was going to mean. And then, much to everybody's surprise, the trajectory for the bike industry it's been straight up. I mean, it's been explosive.
This sudden shift in aspiring cyclists is due to a few factors. When indoor facilities closed down, gym goers were looking for alternatives to continue their fitness routines. With events and vacations being canceled, families were looking for safe outdoor activities to pass the time at home. And this may not apply so much to St. Louis, but in bigger cities, people were looking for less crowded modes of transportation rather than cramming into buses and train cars that have a higher risk for exposure to the virus. But with a sudden increase in demand, there comes a decrease in supply.
I think the statistic I heard was the quantity of bikes that was expected to be sold in the United States had been sold by May for the calendar year. And so we're ordering containers of bikes now from the countries where they're made, unfortunately not the United States. And the lead times we're getting are almost a year.
Is that part of the problem, that the parts and manufacturing of a lot of bikes are not done in the United States?
I think like all industries, there's so many components that go into a bike. It could be rubber, it could be a plastic part, it could be a metal part. They all come from different sources, and you need 100% of them to put in a box.
And it's not just an increase in bike sales, but with people wheeling their old bikes out of the garage only to find rusty chains and cracked wheels, there's been an uptick in bike repairs. But with relying on a fragile supply chain of overseas manufacturers, whose factories have seen shutdowns in the pandemic, some repairs are also seeing delays in back ordering of parts. So you might be looking around the shop seeing all these bikes thinking, this doesn't look like a shortage to me. Well, a lot of what you see on the floor is either already spoken for, has an unfamiliar brand name, or has a very high price tag.
What if I came in today and I said I need to get a bike? Would I be able to get one? What would that look like?
Everything is normal. We want to find out, who you are, what you want, what's your budget, what's going to meet your needs. And so we do the normal things. And then we have to say, here's your option. If we have it in stock, well, it's anything
that information
you want,
is nice,
except it has to be this
one. But this
one.
is what you get if you want to buy today.
Yeah, we can look at the various suppliers' forecasting tools, and we can say, we are going to get this in 2 weeks.
With so much unknown about the pandemic, it's hard to say how bike sales will continue in the future. But Mike hopes to see a shift in gears in the growing local bike community.
We're such a car-centric city. We're so spread out. Riding a bike slows you down, makes you appreciate your neighborhoods, makes everybody a little healthier. And, I think right now I feel for these kids that, now everything is on a screen. Mm-hmm. And so just having something where they're able to use the, refract light in a normal way. I mean, our hope is all these bikes we're selling, we hope that we continue to see people using them, for the next several years and, make it a habit.